Hello! Hi everyone! It's me, Crispin Seavers, your fairy godfather. Hey! So I'm here today to talk with my lovely wife. I wanted to do this video for a while, and here's the reason why. I have been asked throughout the years what it's been like to have a significant other living with Chris Seaver. In addition, is my significant other also geeky? How does she put up with the geekiness? Does she share the passions? This, that, and the other thing. So yeah, throughout the years I've been asked that, and certainly recently with the folks, the fine, tasty folks like Two Vloggers More and Lisa Loves and a couple other jokesters. They've been like, hey, are you ever going to do anything with your wife on these videos? So I kept saying yes. I will do it. And now, reluctantly, she is here to talk about us and the geekiness and all that magical stuff. Mm-hmm. So hello, Caitlin. Welcome to my show. Oh, thank you. What a grip. That's how you do?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
You ready for this?
Sure.
You ready to talk to these fine people?
I guess so.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's do this.
Alright, I've got some questions, and it'll kickstart some fun, I think, Let you guys out there get a little inside info of what it's like to be the whirling dervish that is the Seavage clan, the Seavers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It smells like paprika. Okay.
See, this is what he's like a lot of the time, even off camera, so...
Yes.
If you don't see much of a reaction from me, it's because I see it 24/7. I still laugh, though.
Yeah, she does. I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I'm still here. In her eyes.
I thought you meant why you're still alive. Because I haven't killed you yet.
Well, yeah, that too. So, here's something. We have a bit of an age gap. There's 9 years between us. I was born in the 70s. She was born in the... I was born in the late 70s. She was born in the late 80s. So her childhood was the 90s. My childhood was the 80s. But there are things that she knows about geekiness, movies, things of that nature. Certainly one area of geekdom through the 70s, 80s, and 90s that she is very much a part of and enjoys. But my first question to you, Caitlin, what nerdy stuff were you into when you were a child? What are the things that you glommed onto growing up in the 90s?
Nerdy stuff. Well, a lot of the nerdy stuff that I did or had was a lot of due to my brother, who was a big nerd in movies and video games and Legos, and so I played a lot of Legos. He gave me all of his Legos, so I had his Legos growing up, and I played a lot of video games alone and with my brother when he would let me. A lot of times he'd let me watch him play video games. So that was a big thing that video games were definitely a big part of my life growing up. It definitely changed who I was, and it kind of made me the person I am today. And so that was thanks to my brother, and thanks to our neighbors who got us, who loaned us all of their video games. So yeah, so that I was nerdy into that stuff. Lots of fantasy books. I read a ton of fantasy books growing up. Like,
You were a reader.
yeah, big reader, but a specific genre. It started out as only King Arthur books, or spin-offs from that. And these books I was reading, 1,000-page books in like early middle school. So
Yeah.
I was a big reader, but I always had time for video games, so it was always books and video games. And then my brother was into a lot of sci-fi movies and cheesy action movies, and so I was into that too. So.
Well, there's particular films that you enjoy today because of, you say, your parents. Now,
Well, yeah, my parents.
Yeah,
yes.
like back in the day.
It was my parents, but my brother was like big into action movies. But my parents would rent all of these movies, and then my brother would want to keep them, to buy them. So.
But you were allowed to watch this stuff.
Oh yeah, I was allowed to watch anything.
Different times back then, folks.
Yeah, I mean, my parents let me watch like really rated R stuff. I think the only movie my parents didn't let me watch, and I had a tantrum over, was one of those horror, was it like Bloody Mary or I don't even know, but I had a tantrum over it, and I remember throwing the remote and breaking it because it was like, I didn't understand as a kid. My parents let me watch anything, and then they were like, suddenly, oh, you can't watch this movie. Like, what? I can watch anything, and now you're not letting me watch. And I wasn't also allowed to watch Simpsons or Beavis and Butthead, so that was weird. My parents would let me watch rated R movies, but I couldn't watch Simpsons. I don't know.
That's funny. Sense. Like, most parents were like that with The Simpsons. I remember I was, when The Simpsons first debuted, it was on a show called Tracy Ullman, and that was 1989. And then The Simpsons got their own show in 1990. So around that time, I was 13. And I remember, like, my aunt, because I lived with my grandparents and my great aunt, and my aunt was like, you can't watch The Simpsons. Now, mind you, it's me who grew up, horror and all of that stuff. I've seen so much growing up, and certainly at 13, I had seen plenty by that time. I was hooked on Christy Canyon, the famous adult actress. So that tells you something. But for some reason, The Simpsons was so taboo to so many parents.
I don't get it.
And really, if you look at those shows, it was like, okay, they said damn and hell on it. It was it was an animated version of how some parents were in the real world, how some families were in the real world. Like, it was like almost like an animated version of Your Family or Roseanne's Family or something like that. But animated, and for some reason, parents were so up in arms.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Over The Simpsons.
I was allowed to watch like the Predator movies when I was young. Like, I was a kid. I blood, gore, even like sex scenes. My parents. At the time when I was little, I would always kind of cover my eyes and be like, ooh, but yeah, it was so weird. Simpsons was off limits for me, so that was kind of weird. But we didn't have a lot of TV growing up. I only had, like, the main, we had ABC, we got PBS, and either NBC or CBS. Like, it would come in and out. So, like, until I was 10, we didn't have cable. So, that was all we had.
Yeah.
So I guess Simpsons was on Fox, so
yeah.
I didn't even have access to Simpsons until I was older. But still, I wasn't allowed to watch it. Didn't make any sense.
Now, you said, like, it's different for, like, a lot of, certainly 80s kids, but 90s kids who grew up with certain cartoons and shows, and you have always just kind of said, well, I didn't see that stuff. You know?
Well, a lot of it's from because we didn't have TV until I was 10, and when I moved into my dad's apartment and he had cable, at that point, I was always interested in movies because I grew up watching a lot of movies. That was how we spent our time because we didn't have TV. We had ABC, which I watched a lot of cartoons like after school and like Tailspin, Chip and Dale, like all those cartoons. Yeah, DuckTales, Aladdin, like all those, Darkwing Duck. I watched those, but then when those went off, like they would be on for maybe an hour after school and then they were done, then it was like to shows I didn't care about. So, or the only other TV we watched was Star Trek. Any of the Star Trek spin-offs, my dad was a huge Star Trek fan, so we'd watch that. But I was always into movies. By the time that we got cable and I learned of channels like Nickelodeon and Disney, and I was like, I'm too old for that. I just didn't like it.
You're never too old. Never too old. So, now as an adult, or when you got into your adulthood, your adult state, as it were, are the things that you held on to, the things that you have always sort of done through your childhood to your adulthood, and certainly up until you met me, there's a time you said in your life where you felt like you had to let certain things go. Do you remember that time? Was it, I mean, because it seems like you did certainly play video games in your adulthood.
I did, but being in school, I was in college for 8 years, and part of that 8 years I had to kind of buckle down and do the schoolwork, and I had to kind of set down the controller for a little bit. So I missed out on a lot of games that were coming out, and I also at the time, it was hard to convince myself to spend money on games, so I didn't do that a lot. I don't know why. I mean, I spent lots of money on other stuff, but I never went into game stores to buy games when I was in college. It was very rare that I did. And I also, if I was playing games, a lot of the time I was playing World of Warcraft, so that was just resubscribing online, and so I did that off and on. But yeah, there was a time where I was in school and I had to kind of, set that aside and do schoolwork. But there's also phases where I go through where I'm really into reading and that's all I want to do, and I just read tons and tons of books. And
Writing?
Writing I didn't do in college. I started writing again after college. So,
but you've always had an interest.
Yeah, I mean, I even tried to write a book in high school, but I don't have much skill in writing, so it's more just I want to tell a story, but I don't do it very well, so,
I've read some of it, folks. It's good.
It's not.
I think it is.
Well, but, yeah, so, I mean, there's a time in college where, I didn't have a lot of time to do what I wanted to do. You had to be an adult, do adult things. Pay bills, work.
I mean, also, but going into your field as well, did that sort of feel like it was a deterrent?
Oh, yeah.
From the fun things that you were supposed to do or wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised going into pharmacy. I thought I would meet a lot of like-minded geeks, and, because it's more of like a science-y health field. So I thought I was going to come across a lot of people that were really into video games or really into, Star Wars, things like that. And it was really weird. There were a lot of, like, uptight, preppy, jock, like, pound of makeup type people. I just didn't understand it. I almost felt like out of place. And, I kind of brushed it off and felt like, I've met a few people here and there that game and are kind of nerdy, and definitely pharmacists are like the most weird people. Like they're like almost every pharmacist I've come across has some weird quirk about them, and it's just I don't know, maybe that's people in general.
I think it's people in general.
I don't know, but I mean, there are some really weird pharmacists, so...
You're just in that field, so you're seeing it firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, there's some weird people, but... and I've come across a few people that like games, but for the most part, I felt like I kind of had to, like, quell that down and not talk about it, because that's not an adult thing. Like, you're now a pharmacist, you're now a health professional, you know, you're grown up, you should start acting like an adult. And you know, and it didn't help that I wasn't around a lot of people. A lot of time I was working alone. I worked a lot of pharmacies where there was no technicians, so I would work a whole 12-hour day by myself. So it was kind of tough to, you know, to share my love of my quirky things with other people when you don't have people around like that. So, yeah.
So how do you think I changed your life when I came into your life?
Well,
What was that like?
Well,
Take me through that. Take me through meeting me. Because we've all been through relationships. We've all been through many relationships before we find the relationship, the one that seems to be the one, the spark, the soul mate, if you will, if you believe in things like that.
it was definitely different. I mean, when I walked into his apartment for the first time, it was like there was not an inch of space on the wall that was left open, because he just had posters and random things up on the wall. And it was so different for me because, you know, like trying to pretend to be an adult and doing the adulting thing. You know, I tried to have nice, you know, pictures on the wall, and you walk in and it's like you walked into like a high schooler's bedroom. So that was interesting. But I mean, like we hit it off right away. We liked the same kinds of stuff. We love Star Wars, so that was a big thing. But yeah, it's definitely changed. I mean, like one of the first gifts you gave me was a poster because you thought my walls were too bare. So he gave me a Star Wars poster.
3.
3 Star Wars posters.
Yeah.
All 3 of them all at once?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that. I remember one. I don't know. So, yeah. So
actually, the first gift I ever got her was Shadows of the Empire, the novel. And that was like our first date.
Yep.
Because we shared the love of Star Wars. And then she would tell me about her father and her father's love of Star Wars and getting her into Star Wars and things of that nature.
Yep. Well, yeah, you definitely changed my view of having... Well, I guess you haven't, like... I don't necessarily want all this stuff on the walls, but he's definitely changed my opinion of having things. I don't know. I don't like clutter on the walls, but our house is so small that it is starting to be a little cluttered, but... But, I mean, at first when he wanted to put up all these posters, I was like, what? Like, okay, only in this one room, and now it's like throughout most of the house we have posters everywhere. So, I guess, like, that's kind of changed the way I feel. And I definitely like the idea of showing off figures and, you know, showing off the things you love. That has definitely changed. When before I used to hide everything and it used to go away in a box, and now it's like, now that I've met you, it's, you know, okay, everything's out for everyone to see, and it's like a museum when you come walking through our house, so yeah, it's different.
Yeah, but do you think like, because clearly I'm not an adult in the, I guess, traditional sense of the word, society sense of the word. We can get raw. What about me were you like, I think I can handle this kid who's 9 years older than me.
Well,
Because clearly you're the more mature
oh yeah,
of the two of us.
I feel like I have enough maturity for the both of us. and even then, that's not a whole lot. So, I'm mature enough to pay bills and make sure that things are taken care of, but that's about as far as it goes. So, but,
Well, because I and in our wedding vows, you had said, like, you definitely, I changed your sort of outlook as far as, like, it's okay to be exactly who you are, to like the things that you love.
yeah.
And I think
it's okay to a point, as long as you are able to function as a normal adult in society. You can pay bills, you can, like, I think it's perfectly fine. And I think the duo of us works. So.
But I will say, and this isn't a lie, and you folks who have been, seeing stuff for years and years, is that, like, she's the one that buys a lot of stuff that even I'm like, no. But I see her eyes widen and her excitement grow for certain things, geeky things that really get your juices flowing, get your moistness done, maximum moist level, and that's not me. So I would assume that being with a man-child certainly helps your...
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff behind us is... I bought all of that. But it wasn't for me, it was for him. Because I like to see his face. I like to see how much I can shock him.
But there's things you love.
Yes, there is.
Don't you even tell me.
Yeah.
Like, come on. The hot toys, all that stuff, that's you.
Yeah, that's fun. So what was the question?
It was mostly like me being silly about you talking about me.
Oh.
And the things, and how you were able to sort of acclimate yourself into a Chris Seaver world,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you did it. I think you did it wonderfully.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I certainly I wouldn't give you guff if you were like, no, we got to take this down or this down. I think for the living room...
the living room is pretty much packed. There's no more room for anything else.
I know, but there is wall. You can see wall.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's right at a perfect, like, level, and if you go any further, it's going to look too cluttered. I mean, back here it looks a little too cluttered for me. I'm thinking about moving some of that.
Well, we don't have any place to move.
Well, it's going to get moved somewhere.
Our house is... I think our collectibles are pushing us out of house and home, if you will.
Yes.
And we've got several rooms in the house that are filled.
Plus my video game collection, which is growing at a steady rate.
Well, let's get into that. Talking about those video games, talking about the things that you love the most, geeky-wise, is RPGs, video games, retro video games, the stuff that you grew up with and the stuff you're discovering, and how you wanted to create a show and talk about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I love video games. That's
her thing, folks.
Yeah, the video games are my thing. I grew up playing role-playing games. Actually all kinds of games when I was little, but what really stuck were role-playing games, like Final Fantasy and Lufia and Earthbound, Breath of Fire, Zelda. Then when you get into PlayStation 1, I played like Chrono Cross, Wild Arms. The list goes on, but that's really stuck with me, the video game thing. But that was really due to my brother and our neighbors. My brother was the one that was always in the know of, oh, this new game's coming out, I think you're going to like it. Or he also had a subscription to Nintendo Power, so whenever that came in, he would tell me about something like, hey, look, this RPG's coming out, you might like it. So I owe him a lot of credit to my video game geekiness, And it's kind of like just stayed with me because it's like reading a book. You're following a story, but you have the ability to kind of alter it a little, and it's kind of an escape, away from reality. It's your way of kind of just closing out everything, and you're just playing the game, and that's what's going on. And so so that stayed with me my whole life. And there's been parts of my life where I've been ashamed of it because I felt like either other family members thought I was wasting time playing video games, or friends thinking that, like, what are you doing? Come out with us, stop playing video games. So I always kind of felt like it was, something I shouldn't be doing. But, I mean, it's always been there. Same with reading fantasy books. It's the same. I get that same craving to, read a book. And I don't think it's any different. Just you're interacting a little bit more with it. So yeah.
Yeah, and now she's got a show.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see her happiness and her excitement when she's talking about the things that she loves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's great. I think it's not about the numbers. It's not about, trying to be the next huge thing out there. It's just literally talking about the things that you love and maybe finding like-minded people that you can talk about this stuff as well.
Yeah.
With.
It might be a bad thing because, like, so far I joined a couple Facebook video game groups, and it's had a bad influence on me of wanting to go out and spend a lot of money. So I don't know
but
if it's a good influence.
I look at it this way. Life is really short. You can't take the money with you. Enjoy it while you can, Like, and I've had that, thinking most of my life, much to many people's chagrin, including her, I would think. Because I just, I'm a weirdo. I fear death. I fear not being here. I fear not being here for her. Certainly for my son. I hate the fact that we as a thing die. It drives me crazy. So I've always felt like, fuck money, fuck jobs, fuck anything that you hate doing, and just do stuff that's going to make you laugh, that's going to make you put a smile on your face, that's going to give you joy, however fleeting it is. That's, and life gets in the way. Mm-hmm. Life is just a big, it's designed to sort of push you down and to make you think a certain way, and I don't like that, I don't like authority, I don't like anything like that. So I love, as much as I, sometimes I'm like, ooh, you just spent how much on what, In the end, one, it's pretty freaking cool that she did it. Mm-hmm. Two, the thing that she spends money on is cool anyway, whether it be the awesome video game, crazy, sexy, cool stuff that she gets for her sexy nerddom, to me anyway, mm-hmm. or it's something that I will enjoy or something that we will both enjoy in the nerdosphere. You can't really be like, well, to hell with you, because in the end, she's doing it for that reason, for the happiness, for the laughs, for the whatever it is, for the joy at that moment. But, there is that, maybe that's that little adult part of me who's like, what? You spent what? we gotta send that back.
Yeah, but it's usually because you're thinking about some other nerdy thing you want to go do, like go to Star Wars Celebration
or I'm thinking...
You're always like, oh, that money could go towards... Think of all the other things you could buy with that money.
Well, but I think about, such adult mundane things as a roof. I think about our pool area. I think about dumb things like that.
Barely. Only for a couple months out of
But
the year.
I do it. Even with what I'm about to talk about, there's a part of me that was like, man, we could do this with that, but we're doing this. you know, so there is bits and pieces like that, but for the most part, I'm like, have fun. Because we could walk out that door and that's it. That sucks. Mm-hmm. So while we're here, let's smile. Let's feel that joy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's what I think. As irresponsible as it is. And I'm trying to give my son sort of the opposite of that so that he isn't like me. I want him to be a child at heart, but I also want him to grow up and have that responsibility and be able to be a working human being in society. Because I don't want him to be like me. I don't want him to grow up like me, other than the fun stuff. Because I've had a great childhood. I've had, for the most part, I've had a pretty good adulthood so far. You know, even with all the worries and stresses and things of that nature. And truth be told, it was worse before her, with me. And that's one thing I can talk about is once I got with this woman, a huge, like, just like, I think it was a lot of like, man, I'm 35 at the time. I was 35. I had a kid. You know, my movie jobs are failing all the time. It's an ebb and flow, up and down. What have I done with my life? What girl out there would like me? Lots of depression. I'm still going through depression. I think everybody has a little bit of depression. But it was worse. I mean, it was super worse. It certainly...
Your anxiety was a lot more, too.
Anxiety was through the roof. I mean, I would have anxiety attacks all the time. Making movies, I had anxiety attacks. I would go to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. The anxiety of the ex-wife, who, you know, whatever. Now it's fine. You know, we're raising River the way we should be raising River. There's no, like, hostility or anything like that. But certainly that relationship was a huge stress and anxiety, and I was a mess. I really was a mess. And she, like, it was just like, it just kind of went away. Mm-hmm. Hanging out with her. It was just like, I don't know. It was very easy. And I remember that early on just being like, man, it's easy. I mean, we butt heads because we're stubborn individuals. We're two very stubborn individuals. Our stubbornness is I mean, almost equal. And
we don't butt heads a lot anymore. We've kind of...
Well, I think we've grew through it.
Yeah.
We learned each other.
We learned each other's buttons and we learned not to press them. Or at least not to press them too often.
Occasionally we do. And it gets to like childlike ridiculousness. Well, and I think a lot of couples are like that as well. Where it just gets so like, what is this? Why are we doing this? When in the end, it's not going to really matter because we do love each other and this is silly. But it was just easy to get with this woman, to get not you know what I'm talking about. No, I held out. She wanted it. I held out. I was a good little boy.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was. But, you know, just like the first month being with her, it was just like, I started just to feel like, you know, life isn't terrible. You know, like, things are okay. And I think it's because Catie also has an easygoing nature. She's just like, I mean, she has her stresses, believe me. But she's also just a very, like, I'm gonna sit down, play a video game, have a beer. Like, she's just so, like, meh. You know? She's just chill. And when I'm not freaking out or stressed about something, I'm that person too. you know. And it's funny, I would get this a lot. Say people, fans love my movies, right? So we would go to these conventions and we meet all these fans, and these fans would always expect me to be the movie. They expect me to be this wild, like, what? Like, jumping off the ceiling, like, expletives left and right, and
well,
you know.
sometimes you're like that.
Sometimes.
Not
but for the most part, they were shocked that I was just so chill. I'm just like, you know, I'm a very, like, easygoing dude who, you know, even then just wants to make people laugh or smile or whatever. But I'm not off the wall like that. And I think that lended perfectly to the duo, the meshing of the two of us.
Yeah, we
you know.
both like the Netflix and chill thing.
Yeah, you know.
Let's have a garbage plate and watch Netflix.
No fuss, no muss type of thing. And I think that was awesome. And yeah, it definitely, I mean, I think it's only been, I think in the 5 years, I've had maybe one pseudo anxiety attack.
You've had a couple. You had one when we first met, a couple weeks in, like a week or two in.
Okay.
And then you had like one or two random ones out of the blue, for no reason whatsoever. You would get up in the middle of the night, and I usually just look at you like, what the hell? What is wrong with you?
Well, that says a lot, you know, because I was doing it a lot. I had issues, man. Another thing I wanted to mention was I think we complement each other in certain aspects of growing as a couple, growing as separate people, growing as adventurers. With Catie, I've been able to show her so much. Movies, TV, toys, what have you. Conventions, all of that stuff. And I've got her liking a lot of that stuff. Maybe not everything.
Not everything,
but she definitely likes a lot of stuff, and that's awesome. And that's another thing that we share together and that we can enjoy together. And with her, I've tried and done so many things that I've never done.
Yeah, before we met, he had never had Caesar dressing. He had never had Alfredo.
Well,
anything.
It goes beyond that, you know.
What else have you tried?
I've tried a lot of food.
He tried alcohol when he met me, and I told him not to. I said, you don't have to. And he goes, no, I want to try it. I was like, okay. And
I wanted to see what all the fuss was about, because she likes her drinks. So I was just so like, what is the big deal, you know? I have never done anything like that. Never wanted to. And truth be told, I still don't. I hate beer. I think it's disgusting. I think it's straight up poop and pee in a bottle. It really is. So that I will never understand.
You love cider.
I love hard cider. That's the thing. Like, she would have me try these things, and I would try things.
Well, you wanted to. You're like, oh, okay, I want to try. Let's try to find something I'll like. And so then I got into it, and I brought home any different kind of cider, any kind of fruity thing I could think of. And the one thing that I thought that I didn't think he would like, he fell in love with. That's the framboise. Nice raspberry. And that's lambic, which is a beer.
Lindemans. It is a beer. It is, but it don't taste like no beer. It tastes like, I don't know, angels came in a bottle and I'm drinking it. I'm getting the spoils of their nuts. Because it's delicious. And then I happened to like hard cider. Like hard apple cider. Raspberry, the pumpkin. Pumpkin cider. things like that.
What other foods have you had since I met you?
I mean, I think a lot. I've tried so many things.
You ate a whole salmon.
Yeah, but
You didn't like it.
I still don't like fish. No, I can't get behind fish. That shit's straight up vagina. I can't do it. I just don't like it. But
Pina coladas.
Oh yeah, pina coladas, which are delicious. But what I'm saying, folks, is that like and travel. I've done more traveling with her than I ever did in my life. I've been to places I've never been to in my life with her.
I was a big traveler.
Yeah, and I think
I went on a cross-country trip by myself around the whole country and saw everything. So that's different between him and I, is that he barely went anywhere and I've been everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't, I just didn't travel. And there was a part of me that was just like, ugh, why? What's the point? There were places that I knew that I always wanted to go, and I still haven't gone, but it's much more of a possibility with her because she's also a very spontaneous person, and I don't know if that was before me as well, like if you were just like, you know what, we're going to do this, so let's do it.
Yeah, sometimes.
But certainly being with her, I mean, there's been so many times where it's just been like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we do it. And I enjoy that. That's fun. That's adventure. I like, you're always making memories. You're always creating new memories and doing cool and interesting things and seeing things, for me, sometimes for the very first time. And that can lead us into what I want to talk about now, which I know some of you will enjoy, is the whole Disney thing.
Yeah, we need to give them some backstory here. So, our honeymoon was we went to LA and Orlando, and we wanted to go to. We didn't go to Disneyland or Universal in LA because we were only there for Star Wars Celebration, but when we got to Orlando, I was really excited about Disney because I had been to Disney before, Disney World. I've been to both. I grew up in LA when I was little, and
the whole honeymoon thing was, I mean, honestly, our honeymoon, our wedding, in a way, was all sort of planned around Star Wars Celebration 2015, really.
Yeah.
It was like, this is perfect.
Well, we bought the tickets like 2 years in advance, and I said, okay, well then our wedding is, what's the Saturday before that? That's our wedding.
Yeah. So, and I think it was kind of like I've never been to LA, I've never been to Orlando, I've never been to Florida. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of how that happened. Because originally it was going to be all LA, right?
And I said, Disney World is way better. We need to go to Disney World, not Disneyland. Like, I want you to have, if we're going to do this, I wanted him to have the full experience. And Universal, I don't really remember Universal in LA, but I'm sure it's smaller than the one in Orlando. And, but the funny thing is that I was really excited about Disney World. And I'm also a Disney movie lover. I love all Disney things. And he's like, okay, once in a while he'll like something. But he was all about Universal. And whenever I would bring up Disney, he's like, we don't have to do that the first day. Why don't we do Universal the first day? And it's like, okay. And,
Well, here's my thing. I very young age, I think like most kids, yes, I loved Disney. I did. Like, I drew Disney characters all the time. That's what got me into drawing, because I draw. And it was the Disney stuff that my family would always be like, dude, Chris can draw, like, the Seven Dwarfs, he can, like, all that stuff. So I loved Snow White, I loved Robin Hood, I loved The Jungle Book, Peter Pan, things like that. I totally did. But as I got older, I'm talking like 10 years old, 11, 12, 13. I didn't dig Disney, really. nothing was exciting me. I loved the shows, the cartoons and all that stuff on television. I liked all that stuff. I'm not talking about Disney, I'm just saying cartoons in general. That stuff appealed to me. I liked DuckTales. That was about the only thing Disney that I liked, but I mean, 89 and on, when they started re-upping the new Disney stuff, like Little Mermaid, Lion King, all that stuff,
yeah.
Beauty and the Beast. No.
See, and I grew up, that was like prime time for me.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
My sister and, that stuff, that's why I knew about those movies and like that, because it was my sister, and it was the girl stuff, and you go to school, and every freaking girl in school was singing, all of those movies that were coming out, everyone was singing those songs. It just didn't appeal to me at all. And then into the adulthood, it just didn't appeal to me. The whole Pixar thing didn't grab me. I didn't care. I was like, ugh. I still don't like...
Yeah, I don't really like Pixar stuff.
But you know what I mean? Like, people love Toy Story. I just didn't care.
I did like Toy Story.
That stuff I just didn't care about until I saw The Incredibles. And I saw The Incredibles, and I was blown away. I was like, holy crap. But I've seen other Pixar stuff, doesn't do anything to me. Zero. Nothing. So Disney just isn't like a thing. I know it's there. I enjoy the things that I enjoy from it, but I'm not a huge fan. So
can I get back to my story now?
But what I'm saying is, thinking about a park that is all Disney just seemed off to me. For somebody like me.
But me, knowing what is at Disney World, I kept telling him, like, you are going to love it. We're going to go to Epcot, which, even though he doesn't drink, I knew he would, especially because he doesn't travel, I knew that Epcot would be one of his favorite places, because you're going around the world and you're seeing all these different things, and it's like you're in a different environment in each little spot. And I knew it. I knew he was gonna love it, and he just wasn't excited about it. And after we went, he had such a good time. And he, when we left there, he kept saying his favorite part of the trip was Epcot. That was your favorite part. I mean, there were some things at Universal that you loved, but
I love Universal.
You couldn't stop talking. He couldn't stop talking about Disney, and I just thought it was so funny because he didn't even want to go to, I think at almost one point you said you didn't even want to go to Disney, and that you wanted to.
I didn't care about it. I could have done all Universal, man.
It's crazy.
Because I loved Universal, but I fell in love with it. I was just
But on top of that, when we went, I said, oh, I really wish I could go to Magic Kingdom. Oh, it's so great. So here comes the next time we go to Disney. I'm like, okay, I really want to see if we can get to Magic Kingdom. So we did it. The very last thing we did was Magic Kingdom, because he's like, Magic Kingdom is the classic stuff. What is there in Magic Kingdom? And then when we get there, and we only had maybe an hour there, after we left, he's like, man, Magic Kingdom seemed pretty cool. I wish we could go back.
Well, so we went 2015, loved it. I just loved it. I fell in love with the theme parks in Orlando. I just loved it. I had so much fun. I even loved downtown Disney, Disney Springs. That is I think that's great. I love the atmosphere. I love everything that's happening. The shops, the sounds, the smells, the food, everything. I love it. And then we went last year, again, for another Star Wars celebration. We took my son, and he had a ball, and again, loved it, but we did it in such a weird way because we were splitting time between the parks and Star Wars Celebration. And we did, 4 parks?
We did 4 parks.
In one day.
And you didn't want to see Magic Kingdom, so that was the last hour of the day was Magic Kingdom. And
when I was there, I loved it. And again, I loved going through the parks. I was just like, man, this really is the greatest place on earth. And then once again, I loved Universal. I'm like, man, but we only got to do one part of Universal. I want to do all of it. I love these parks. Certainly Universal because of all the movie stuff. And just, again, it's the fun. It's, but you get that in both parks. And I just truly fell in love with it. It just, me being a big kid, it even brought more of that big kidness out of me. To where I, am smiling at friggin' Mickey Mouse and things like that. Stuff that, I guess maybe subconsciously, it's bringing stuff back from when I was like, 4, 5, 6 or whatever, to when I was drawing and into that stuff. And I don't know, I really enjoy it. So I've really had like a hankering. Like
You would not stop talking about it.
I constantly want to go back. Like, I want to go every year. Like, if I made money that was like substantial and that you could look at and actually call money, I would do it all the time. Yeah. I would be like, well, let's go twice this year, we'll go twice next year.
Well, there was one time you said if you had enough money, we would fly down every weekend to go to Disney.
Oh my gosh, we'd get an annual pass, and we would use that annual pass. And I think I would love it every single time. So that leads us to right now, which is 2018. At this point in time, folks, we were planning on going back to Orlando in 2019. And that's really for Star Wars Land, because Star Wars Land is opening at Hollywood Studios, Disney, Orlando. And we had talked about doing that with Casey and River and Nisha, Casey's wife, and everything, and then also doing Halloween Horror Nights, because I've wanted to do that too at Universal. So I'm thinking, well, we got next year, 2 years from from the last time, we're going back, and we're it's going to be amazing, and we get Star Wars Land and Avatar Land and all that stuff. Huzzah. And so it brings us back to every now and again, there's that spontaneousness that happens in our relationship. And I was talking about, we've never really done, it's been a while since we've done something so spontaneous.
Yeah. Well, you had also, on top of that, you had been talking about Disney a lot. He kept bringing it up randomly in conversations.
Yeah, but that really wasn't. I didn't think anything would come of it.
I know, but joking. But it was
my excitement.
It got it going in my.
It definitely was my. It didn't help that I was watching the Tim Tracker, and Jen Tracker, and then also listening to two vloggers more always talk about their love of Disney. It was just like, man, these guys. I understood. I got it. I totally understood their enjoyment and their fun and feelings from doing this stuff. So yeah, it was on my mind. It was like, man, this place is a magical place. So she, had mentioned, I have a pretty good little chunk of time here off from work. And normally she has 3 full weeks of vacation time throughout a year. So she can pick 3 different weeks throughout the year that she has vacation time. And this isn't even really one of those.
I used just 12 hours of it. Yeah.
This happens to fall at a very, 5 days where she doesn't have to be at work, which is amazing. So it was really just like us talking about, we haven't done anything spontaneous. Do you want to? And it was her, really.
Yeah, I got kind of offended. He's like, you're not really that spontaneous anymore. And I'm like, wait, yes I am. So...
Yeah, it had been a little while. It had been a little while. But I think stresses of the world and
Our last spontaneous trip was New York City.
In 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's been a while, but.
Yeah, and that was fun. That was really fun. And again, River, mind blown.
Yeah, we had a great time.
I love seeing River just go to these places that when I was his age, never dreamt of doing. So it was really fun to see Orlando and New York through my kid's eyes, and just to be like, man, this kid, like, he's going to grow up and he's going to remember this stuff, you know? I wish I had that, and I didn't have it until I was in my almost 40.
Well, it was my first time going to New York City at Christmas time, so.
Well, I certainly, I was
special.
I did go to New York City. I've practically lived in New York City for a while. But what I'm saying is, even New York, like, I love going back to New York City, even though I've been there hundreds of times. I just think it's an awesome place, and again, to see my kid, like, be like, holy crap, I've seen this in shows, I've seen this in movies, like, I'm here in New York City. That was great. But that was a fun, spontaneous thing that we used to do a lot of. Mm-hmm. So I was,
He was picking on me.
I was like, but again, I also totally get it. Like, there's some rough patches as far as stress, life, things like that getting in the way of happiness, I guess. Making one happy or put that smile on your face. So she says, I've got these 5 days. Why don't we do something spontaneous? And at first it was like, well, you want to go to North Carolina? Because North Carolina, most of her family's in North Carolina, and I really enjoy going to see her family.
Did we bring up North Carolina? I don't remember.
River's been in North Carolina.
No,
you did, yes, you did.
When we were talking about the 5 days?
Yes, you did.
I don't remember that at all. I thought I just said, let's just go to Disney.
No, you brought up North Carolina first.
Okay.
You were like, we can go to North Carolina.
See, Lauren, I did think of you first. Even though I don't remember. I did.
You did. And I was like, yeah, we can go to North Carolina, I love visiting the family. The weather is almost always good over there. I was just like, yeah, we could do that. And and River could go or whatever. And then I don't know, I guess it was...
You were just talking about Disney before, and I was like, well, how... I started looking up plane tickets to see how feasible it would be.
I mean, she was right next to me.
I was right next to him on my phone.
I didn't know what she was doing.
But yeah, I just said, well, like, why don't we just go to Disney?
Yeah.
Let's go to Disney. Let's just do it. 5 days, and then we can that's plenty of time to go see just Disney.
And I was just like, what? Like, really? It just seemed so not doable. I was just so like, what? How can we do this? And clearly when we're going to take River, but we looked at it also as a anniversary celebration for us, because we didn't really get to celebrate our 5 years together. So this is sort of like that. This is a getaway for a nice, lovely married couple getaway, vacay. And like that night, and then the next day, we basically...
Yeah, I booked it.
I
made sure it was okay with my partner and my boss, that I was taking a day off, and that I came home, and then for like the night that I decided that we were going to go, and then the nights where I booked, we stayed up till like 2 a.m. because we were so excited.
I was
we could
really excited.
Well, not to mention that I brought up, hey, let's just go to Disney, and this was at like midnight.
Yes.
And so then we were just excited and up for the next 2 to 3 hours, and of course I think I had to work the next morning.
But then you came home.
That was a rough couple days.
Yeah, you came home, and then we did it again.
Well, I come home to him watching videos for
watching
3 days in
Disney
a row.
video stuff. Yeah,
That's all he's been doing is watching Disney videos.
Tim Tracker, and I don't know. And then I guess a week later. Look, it says Seaver family. That's us. And we got our... Oh. So this was exciting too for me. Like just getting this in the mail. I was like, oh man, it's real. You know?
We're really going.
Yeah, and I remember I was like, wait, is this going to mess up next year though? And she was like, no, we'll still go next year. Luckily we're going later, so we have some time.
Yeah, and this trip is just the two of us. So
yeah, this is just us. We're just going to enjoy each other, enjoy where we are.
Yeah, and we're also staying on the resort for the first time.
Which is awesome. Like I'm
excited.
I'm actually really excited about that.
Me too.
Like it's almost, I mean, this time she was just like, you know what? We're just going to do all convenience.
Yeah, it's
like,
all but we are like that. You know, since we've done conventions together, both of us have enjoyed being right there at the convention, not having to take a cab or walk to the hotel. And so I said, you know what? Like we both like to be right there. Why don't we just stay on the resort? Like, why not? You know, and the prices aren't, you know, crazy considering, you know, I think our hotel was maybe $240 a night, which isn't really that much more than a nice hotel, and like our New York City hotel was a little over $200 a night. So
yeah, we're staying at the Port Orleans French Quarter Disney Resort, and I guess it's awesome. I've heard that it's awesome. It's what they call the moderate hotels.
Yeah.
It's not the
high end, but it's not the low end.
It's not the cheap end. It's right in the middle. It's the moderate. So you're right there. You're close to that high end.
Well, I also liked it because I've been in New Orleans, so I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat little, you know.
Yeah, I like, and of course I have watched so many videos of just the resort, and I've loved what I've seen. I like that we can get those beignets there. I think the food is going to be great.
Oh yeah, they say they have jambalaya right there.
And it's a little boat trolley right to Disney Springs, which that's awesome. I mean, we're not gonna everywhere we're gonna go, we're gonna have transportation.
Yeah, we're getting at the airport. There's a bus right there that just takes you to the resort. Just drops people off at Disney, so we don't even have to worry about, like the last time we tried to do that, we had to wait. We had to wait an hour for a bus to take us to our hotel. It was just a nightmare. But now we already know where we're going, and then we get buses everywhere we want to go.
Yeah.
So
to all the parks, all that stuff. It's going to be awesome. And we're doing 2 parks one day, 2 parks another day, and then we're doing one of the water parks, which we haven't done.
Never done.
So that's going to be fun. We're not doing Universal this time. I guess we're doing the water park instead of that. But Universal next year. Yay! So this time it's just straight up Disney fun. And just us. And I'm super excited. She's probably annoyed with me at this point because I'm constantly bringing up Florida.
Yeah, he seems pretty obsessed about it.
I am excited. I'm really excited. And right now, folks, it's May 1st, and we leave May 18th. It's only 18 days away. I'm super happy, super excited. So yeah. But yeah, so I think that's it. See, that wasn't so bad.
I guess not.
Was it? You got to know a little bit about my wife, a little bit about us as a married couple, and the geeky things that we both love and share and have sensual times with. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to check out...
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I have a channel, and it's called Shield Maiden Heiress RPGs and Ales, and it's about just about me gaming. I do streaming of the game that I'm currently playing, and then I do I plan on doing episodes after I finish each game, and I've got giveaways going on right now, and I drink beer while I play, and that's kind of another thing I do. I talk about the beers that I'm not a beer connoisseur at all. I just like drinking alcohol. So it's really just me having a good time while playing games, and then I kind of just talk about the beer after. And that's actually getting kind of interesting because I'm kind of venturing forth and buying different types of beers for this channel, so that to make it fun. So I also have a website that's currently in the works. I started it, but I haven't done much with it, and that's called justeris.com.
Facebook.
I also have a Facebook.
And that is?
Just Eris. Yes. But the main things, I also have a Twitch, and that's Shield Maiden Eris, and I'm trying to kind of bring them all together, and I want my main places to be on are Twitch and YouTube, but Facebook is kind of the social media that I know I have a lot of connections with, but I'm trying to get people onto my YouTube.
That's what it is,
and onto my Twitch.
It's the same thing with Warlock Home Video Network. We get lots of people on the Facebook page, and you're just like, but everything is happening over here, folks, at the YouTube channel. That's where everything is percolating, and that's where you're going to see everything. Mm-hmm. So go to that, which you're on right now, folks, Warlock Home Video Network. Click subscribe. You're going to get unboxings and collection videos and our shows, which is A Crep from the 80s, Gourmet Scum Radio, and The Gory Days, which is a horror show. A Crep from the 80s is an 80s nostalgia show, and Gourmet Scum Radio is a big geeky everything geeky, comic books, superheroes, all that fun stuff. And then off and on, Catie will join the channel as well. We're really trying to pollinate. I want people from our stuff to go enjoy Catie's stuff as well, and maybe somebody who loves the RPGs and ale thing will be like, well, I like other geeky stuff too, and maybe they'll come over to Warlock Home Video Network. So it's a big conglomerate of geekiness that a lot of our family is involved in. We hope you enjoy, and we hope you enjoyed this video. So until then, I'm gonna go get all sexified with my woman. I'm gonna put my spent children all over her nips.